Okay, so I guess we're gonna start somewhere in here. My name is Josh Nimoy, and I put together a kind of an interactive video game performance.
Hey, you're not Josh.
And yes, I am. And I'd like to show it to everybody. I think it's kind of in some pieces. I kind of wanted to put it all together, and I guess I can show you what I have. I'm sorry, I put up posters and put all this whole thing, and it's kind of cryptic, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think I should show it to you. And I don't know, I think maybe we should wait for another 5 minutes. But I kind of wanted to show you all, it would be all in one piece, but I guess, I'll just leave it.
Can you start over, Josh? Someone just walked in.
I'm sorry?
Someone just walked in.
Okay. Well, I was going to start over, but I'm gonna show Escaping Dixon. You might have seen the posters, and I guess for those of you that walked in, you can ask those amongst you. But it's kind of not all where I wanted it to be, but then again, what is, So I think I'm gonna just try to put all the pieces together, and maybe it'll kind of gel into some, Yeah. So I'm just gonna. Okay, so, all right. Okay, there's more too. There's yeah. That's just kind of like that's like the beginning. See, you can see like it's kind of in pieces, but it's still all there, and it's yeah. See, like originally there was going to be a soundtrack and it was going to sync with each image and it would work and it would kind of be like this visual thing with the sound, and I just kind of, I got sidetracked and I didn't have time. See, that one I kind of had more time on, so I was able to do it, and yeah. Do you see how it's also it's like a video game while you're watching it? You know, like you're playing it and you're watching it, and it's kind of working as it's your experience of this thing, you know, and yeah. All right, there's another piece that I forgot. I'm not sure where it is, but it goes in the beginning, and so you can just imagine that you saw it and it was really good. It had like this graffiti artist, and he was writing backwards, and I'm being a little obtuse in my referencing. There's an artist named John Baldessari, and he did this piece where he had someone paint a room, and each time the person would paint the room a different color, and then you kind of became aware of how the room was being painted, and it was like a painting, but it was also someone doing the act of painting, and it was a performance. But I'm not sure if that comes across. I'm still working on that. But you see how, like, each time you're aware of this, the way in which she's putting down the paper, and you're not sure if it's the same or if there's a purpose or why, but there's an order or a system to it, otherwise she wouldn't keep doing it right. Okay, so does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, good.
How is it like innovative?
But I think you should see like the whole piece, and then you can kind of like you can really get the idea of that.
How long is it?
It's just a bit now.
See, it's kind of like a video game because like where this is the perspective of the video game, and I worked out the code in Shockwave so that when you click, you can switch to that person's perspective and kind of enter into their eyes. But I just got tired and decided not to code it. But you can do it. It's all built. I didn't put it in there yet. But I'm also kind of painting like with each pixel. Like each frame is kind of set up so that it's like a painting in and of itself, and it's like a collection of paintings put together, but it's digital, like it doesn't exist, kind of. So it's kind of set up like first person point of view, but then it's also multiplayer, but it's like it's the same person each time, and so you can play any one of 3 or 4 or 5 different facets of yourself, and you're all trying to figure it out. Do you notice how the screen becomes like a fabric, and like the texture of the screen becomes almost like a tangible object, like you can touch it, and at times it's smooth, and then it changes. It's almost it. We're almost out of. So that's pretty much that's that. That's the escape, and
where's the climax?
I seem to have misplaced it. I'm not sure. I think it's here somewhere. I can try to find it.
So there is one?
Well, I thought so, but I'm not sure. I put one here somewhere, and then I moved it around, and now I don't know where it is.
Do you think you need a climax?
Well, I think that kind of was, you know, I mean, there was the process and the build, and you kind of were posed with the problems of solving for X and X's to get out of Dixon, and
Wait, could you explain it so we can understand, please?
okay, so you're in Dixon and you're posed with the problem of escaping, and you're given certain attributes and multiple characters and yourself, and you're kind of spread out in different areas, and you're trying to figure out the way out. And each movie clip or each piece of the game is you figuring out something, and as you figure it out, you move closer towards the end escape, and which you finally achieve when all the pieces are put together, when you solve each of the actions. Yes, it's sort of it's like a personal escape, and then it has broader implications, if that makes sense. No?
Because the stairs were obviously always there, but you had to go through what you saw to then be able to leave.
Right. Right, you had to figure it out. You had to, let me try to figure out how to phrase it exactly. Yes, like the stairs were always there, but you weren't able to realize what they were. It's kind of like Plato's cave, for example. You're familiar with the metaphor of Plato. You're not sure which is real. And so by the experiences, each clip is as you go through each piece, you're able to begin to distinguish what is real and what is not real, and what is the reality, and the reality of the steps. If you notice some of the perspectives and the camera angles, how it looks like she's going up or she's going in, you're not quite sure what. It's kind of the person learning about their environment as they go. And so as you experience each one, you're able to, in the end, realize what was there. I mean, in a very crude analogy, it's like Dorothy and the ruby slippers. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, and it's. I mean, it is a video game, and then it's not. You know, I mean, it's kind of these days. You know, what is a video game and what isn't are kind of blurred, I think, and that's maybe where what games will eventually become is where there's a line and you're not sure where the game ends and where the game doesn't, and that rather than playing someone else, you'll play almost yourself, and then it's your experience that you're going through. It becomes real for you, and that's why the game is real. It's because it's your own experience.
Do you see a distinction between video games and like interactive art or?
I guess it depends on intention. I'm sorry, I'm behind this computer. I should probably come out. I think it's intention between what is the point of the game and what is the point of the art. You know, I mean, if the art is to divert and amuse, maybe, then they're the same. Or I think sometimes it's unintentional. You know, that there is no that someone doesn't make a distinction. Like they make a video game which can be considered art, or they make art, but then at the same time it functions the same way as a video game. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff on the web right now where it's interactive and it's made with a shockwave or flash or some kind of interactivity, and it's basically a designer masturbating. But is it art? I don't know. Maybe. Is it interactive? Yes. Is it a video game? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's no real point, not necessarily, but at the same time, how many video games really have a point when you get down to them? I think maybe one of the distinctions between a video game and interactive art would be a narrative. I don't think that art necessarily stays within a narrative context, whereas video games try to follow a narrative to keep your interest. But, I mean, I think this kind of plays with narrative and non-narrative functioning, if you understand. You know, because it's, yes?
Do you think that non-narrative is entertaining?
I think non-narrative is a lot more difficult to become entertaining, but I think non-narrative can still be entertaining if each of the parts, in and of itself, has enough qualities to make it entertaining to the viewer. But then again, I think that's context specific also. If you're in a certain context, then
something will be entertaining to one person. Like if you listen to atonal music, you know, intellectual music composers will say, okay, I appreciate what you're doing, but if you played that to a blue-collar guy, he would leave or walk out because it doesn't follow what he's used to.
So what
Right.
happens when you escape?
What happens when you escape? Well, I mean, it's kind of, you know, the reward is kind of the process. I think the reward is the building up. You know, we're a very goal-oriented society, and I think that half the time, actually more like 3/4 to almost all the time, the process is infinitely more rewarding than the end goal. You know, what you achieve in the end is nowhere near as valuable to you, I think, in the long term as what you went through to get there. And so that's kind of what the film does, or the video game, the performance. I'm not sure what you want to call it. Yes?
Do you think that gives you an excuse to not finish this project on time for the showing?
I'm sorry?
Do you think that gives you an excuse to not finish this project on time for the showing?
Maybe, but that's the prerogative of the author, right? Anybody else? Yes?
I was just wondering about what you were saying. It didn't seem like that was a very rewarding process. It seemed like a very mundane, monotonous, repetitive. The kind of process that we all want to get the hell away from because we're doing everything.
I'm sorry?
We're doing a more complicated version of that every day, and we want to not do that.
Right.
So it's not really rewarding, it's not really fun. It's more like I would rather escape than just do that whole process. So in a sense, it's not the process, that's money period, whatever.
In this case?
In this case, it seems like that's how it's made by you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess in a sense that's true, you know, I mean, but I'm not sure where the ideal audience would be. I mean, obviously you're privileged because you're in this space, you know, this context relates to you specifically. You go through these kinds of experiences. But I think there is also something of value in the mundane, you know, I mean, I think that there's been a lot of work made about mundane things, and I think some of the most brilliant work in art, at least, or whatever, is made about mundane objects. Pop art, for example, Andy Warhol. You know, I mean, he used as the subject the mundane. He used as the subject popular items and what they meant to the culture. This is specific in a way to this context, UCLA, but it's also, I think it can also be applied to maybe making you re-examine what it is that you're doing while you're doing it. Does that make sense? Like if you're, okay, so you do this every day, right? And so it's not, you don't like it, you want to escape, you want to get rid of it, right? You want to get outside of it. But maybe there's something there that you're not getting. I mean, why? You don't, I'm saying maybe this kind of helps you reevaluate your experience.
Well, you'd rather escape it when you know what they were going to. That's why you just said you'd rather escape it because you know what went on. So you needed that.
So I mean, it still did affect you, right? I mean, you still wanted to, it still evoked that emotion of wanting to escape, wanting to get out, right?
What was the role of the man by the window?
The man by the window at the end,
That good-looking guy.
that good-looking guy. He was kind of, he was just thrown in there as a kind of a non sequitur, and to kind of question the whole reality of the piece, I guess. That, you know, what is reality? Reality is subjective. And so, who is that man? You know, hints at what is the reality of the piece? What is the reality of the space he's in? If through the entire movie he doesn't exist and then he exists at the same time as the rest of the people in the piece are existing, it kind of implies through the placement, the visual placement, that he might be the same, or he might be, you know, just a kind of a white rabbit, I guess. You know, that he's the link to what is real in the constructed fantasy. Yes?
Why not play him yourself, though?
I thought it'd be more effective to get somebody to kind of, again, mess with the reality. You know, to have someone, it's kind of an avatar, as you will, for the director, for the author. I'm sorry, there's somebody I can't see with it. Yes, you.
It's a little non-intuitive working, getting back to the program and using the verbal cues to play the part that you want to play. At the moment, if there could have been a sidebar for people like me who can't read, so you have a picture of each character, walking lady, sitting lady, shuffling lady, and click on the little green picture of them.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a little bit, and if that could be just steadily there throughout the whole thing, you could really quickly go from one to the other, walk by the telephone, and hit the telephone lady and suddenly switch your perspective.
Well, ideally, I mean, I think I mentioned for a little bit in the, that's kind of what I wanted to do, and I ran out of time as I was putting the piece together. But ideally, you would be able to switch in the perspective of the character, because, like I said, it's like a multiplayer game with one player. That you are these various people, and at the same time, you're one. Yeah.
Why would you want to make it so easy on the user, to have just labeled characters?
I don't know about labels, but I think what he has mentioned of the as a possibility. I think that it would be more interesting to have the indirect, audience or whatever, be able to interact with the environment by chance. That if you happen to roll over, if you happen to move to, you could interact. I think signage is a little more, by using text, you change the meaning of it. But, so I wouldn't necessarily. Huh?
What do you mean by environment?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean by environment?
Environment, the space that's created, the space that the character moves through.
So just the computer. That's the environment.
I suppose, it's on a screen, so yes, there's the assumption of, the original computer, or I'm not following it. Which space are you talking about? The interior space that's created in the screen by the program, or the space that exists as you physically interact with it, or the space that's assumed beyond what you see that, you place depth, you place whatever assumptions on.
That's what I was asking you, Josh.
I didn't understand your question then. Could you rephrase it in a clear and concise manner?
Remember what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay, could you explain back?
Space. Which space? No, you asked me which space was I talking about. What the environment was.
What environment?
Right.
Well, I was asking what environment is the audience interacting with?
I think the audience interacts with everything by making the screen pixely and by making each frame become an object in and of itself. You're made aware of the limitations of the medium. You're made aware of that it's pixel-based, that it's electronically generated, and you're also interacting with it as though it were a created space.
So you're imagining for a while.
Well, yeah, but you have to imagine with anything. With any screen-based medium. That's kind of an assumption that the producer makes, is that you will imagine, you'll play along, otherwise why bother playing?
It's like Westworld.
Yes, except this one ideally wouldn't kill you.
Yeah,
But,
you don't want to see the guts when you're doing it. You just want to work it.
Right.
Not think about the electronics.
What's Westworld? What's Westworld?
Westworld is a fictional place that was described in a movie, kind of a Disneyland theme park, where you can go for a voyeuristic adventure, like in the Old West, have shootouts, but it's all entirely safe. But the whole thing is a contrivance. Underneath there's a infrastructure of high tech that makes the robots work and so on.
Exactly.
And that's a place that looks really natural and real, except that it's all controlled elsewhere.
So what statement are you trying to make?
What statement am I trying to make with the piece?
I really don't get the whole thing.
Okay. I think that with a piece like this, it's kind of subjective as far as what you get out of it. What you, like you said, he got the feeling that he wanted to escape. And I think that's, it's meant to provoke a response in the viewer, and whatever response it provokes in you is, not to be, I guess, dodgy about it, but it's not, it's set up as a framework of actions ideas. There's the idea of escaping, the idea of creating a surrogate reality, or creating an environment in which the viewer can either choose to interact as a participant or as a viewer solely, and whatever you get out of the repetitive motion of the space, of the interaction with the space, is up to you. And so, I mean, I don't know. If your experience was that you didn't get it, then that would be a legitimate experience. Does that make sense?
But what do you want out of it?
What do I want out of it?
What was your statement?
What was my statement?
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. I mean, I think that most works are the attempt of the author to try to figure the work out. If that, I mean, not like I said, not to be dodgy. This is kind of a personal work for me. Right. This is kind of a personal work for me. You know, it's about it comes out of my experience of being in this space, and it's kind of a visual and interactive record of my desire to escape. And so if that came across, that it was successful in some way. But it's deeper than that. I mean, that's just kind of like a surface impetus.
It's not deep unless I can explain it.
Right, well,
I mean, yeah, he doesn't put support here yet.
right.
You understand my point?
That you don't understand, I'm sorry?
He understands my point.
That you don't understand it if you can't explain it?
Right.
Right, that's true. No, that's fair. I mean,
Well, I think as designers, you're always supposed to have like
a reason.
that you're trying to communicate to your audience.
Yeah.
I understand, like, through art, it is more subjective and stuff, but.
So you think that this exists in the context of design, or by necessity?
I don't know, by being in the EDA, maybe.
By being in the well, maybe, but I mean, you've had Matt Mulliken in here. You've had Matt Mulliken in here. He's not a
Who knows
designer.
what we're kind of here, but.
Well, I know. I'm just saying that I don't think the space completely sets it up as that. I mean, I think that this is not necessarily meant to exist solely within the structure of design. That it can. That it is kind of cross-medium in that sense, that it can work as a video piece, that it is an interactive piece, and it can function as art, I mean, that it kind of blurs the wall between art and design.
But even art has a personal meaning behind it, which I wish you would share more of.
So you're saying he doesn't have a personal meaning behind his art? What he's showing you?
I don't know, you can't say.
Oh. What's my personal meaning?
I'm actually interested in your interpretation.
What, as someone who would diversify the crowd because it's so different from you guys because they didn't put us over here?
I mean, you have a perspective. I mean, you hear every day.
Well, everyone has an opinion.
Well, every night.
Everyone has an opinion. I want to hear yours first.
Mine?
Yeah.
About what? About the piece? Okay. I thought I explained my position, but no. I mean, I am still not sure what this is about. I mean, I think that the pieces are still kind of becoming. They're kind of coming together for me, in the sense that I made a movie or I made a piece about escaping Dixon, and in doing so, you have to spend an inordinate amount of time in the space that you're trying to escape. And so I was trying to come to terms with maybe my desire, why I would want to escape, why I would want to leave, and what would make me feel confined into the space that would kind of become the impetus to create a piece like this, where it was about leaving the space. It was about escaping from what Dixon means, or like that. And so it's kind of, I mean, I guess in a lot of respects, I'm discovering along with you what the piece means, because I'm not entirely sure. And so, I mean, maybe that means it is even more successful in the sense that I don't know.
Well, that's not true.
Why isn't that true?
I think you were saying that the reason why you like to work on the piece is because you're exploring it with everyone else.
That's probably, I mean, that's definitely true.
I guess that you like togetherness. That's why you're doing this piece.
Yeah, but I think that it represents a certain amount of fracture. The perspective, the perspective is fractured. The first person is fractured. You see yourself walk by yourself. I mean, that's togetherness, at the same time it's not. You know, it's seeing yourself does not necessarily mean you're together with yourself. It means that there's a distance between that you're recognizing yourself as a being outside of yourself.
So this is a cry for help?
Perhaps. Quite possibly. Helps to somebody maybe to help me escape. But
Why would you want to put us as the viewers
why?
in your situation?
I don't know, maybe one of you will be the person who helps.
Or maybe you're just egotistical.
That's entirely possible too. I'm not
I think that's the case.
quite definitely.
You
But
do a much better job of this than you can.
let's see, what time is it?
Game over.
Thank you very much.
Now we can ask the name.
I think you asked it all. What did you really want to know about this?
Do you have any plans beyond this?
No. I wanted to have this as sort of an invitation for you guys to join in producing this thing. I couldn't finish it on time. I didn't have enough people working with me. The reason why I work on these projects is to get to know you guys. Because I know that people only appreciate me really when they're working with me. So,
6 in the morning.
well, no, you were working aside me on your own project. If we're both working on the same project, it's different. That's a personal thing.
So will there be a sequel?
It's a musical instrument. Huh?
So will there be a sequel to Escaping Dixon? We first have to finish Escaping Dixon.
Escaping Dixon it's 2 days away from being finished. I feel like almost like it was more effective presented with the lid off like that. It's just almost finished, right?
But then it's less video game like, it's more linear.
Well-
You have 1, 2, 3 of those.
That's true, but if you present it like a film, people will say, "Wow, that's very video game-like." They'll see it as a film, but then you can click on it. I don't know.
Have the janitors played an important role in your education here in East
I would say so. Yeah.
Illinois?
In what sense? They give me advice. And I take it. Oh, that's personal. Well, I didn't mean... You gave me the microphone, and I wasn't supposed to sit here and take your place or anything. But I was just supposed to give the credit, that's all. That's okay. Well, the opening credits were supposed to be Escaping Dixon, starring Serena Kennedy, right over there. Featuring the voiceovers of Sarah Richardson. Dialogue for the Right Brain, written by Gail Swanlund. Opening sequence graffiti performance done by Mark Yen. If you want the list of the people on the internet who helped me on this, in chat rooms and such, visit the website. Now, this project isn't over. Probably there's going to be Escaping Dixon 2000, Escaping Dixon 2001. Huh? It's not really a music piece. It's just all around art. It's just a bunch of kids getting together and doing some stuff just because they want to.
Can we see Mark's thing later?
Huh?
We never got to see it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find it.
Whoa.
Why are you cast?
Full screen?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I misplaced it.
That'd be why I couldn't find it.
we have to do something about people deleting each other's files, so I don't have to be so secretive about the stuff that I work on, file-wise. Here we go. I think so. Now there's custom music that goes along with this, but it's played backwards. He's undoing the white line, and it's deconstructing the text, which makes up the credits for the person, almost taking their identity away from them. And I was having Mark Yen draw it within different mindsets, I guess. So we did about 6 or 7 texts. This one's football. There was one that was the motion of a foot moving. There was escaping the esophagus and also escaping the uterus. There was escaping the maze, and in fact, it's actually still on the whiteboard. If you go into the Mac lab, people don't touch much here. Anyway, you can continue to look at this. I think my point has been made. Thank you. I forgot to thank the most important part in this piece, I think, well, towards the end, Adam Hellman, everyone.
How's it feel to be Josh? Look at it, Charlie.
Jurisdiction with reality. No, this will really be on the way. Believe me when I say that. Here's one of the escape.